Bob was a board member for a ministry dedicated to serving Christian business owners and leaders. The board also served one another as a group of advisors and accountability resources. Bob owned a farming business. His company was strongly profitable, and Bob had a fine reputation among his peers for faithful living and generous giving. His family enjoyed a comfortable lifestyle with a nice home on the lake. Bob struggled for years to grow his business to the point of solid profitability, and in the process built up a substantial amount of debt that he said God was helping him to pay off. He said that God had told him to get out and stay out of debt and not to use debt in his future business. He often testified of his hope for the day when he would be debt-free, and he counseled others to strive to do the same. God was doing miracles in his business. People were being touched in remarkable ways, and some were saved through contact with Bob and his team. He even had influence and active ongoing ministry with many of his vendors and competitors. One day a man approached Bob. He said he represented the owner of the adjacent acreage and was authorized to offer it to Bob at a very good price. Bob was shocked. The landowner was a large corporation with vast holdings. It didn't make sense to sell just the parcel that they were offering. Bob questioned the agent and was told that, in fact, they desired to sell only that parcel. No reason was given except they wanted to sell and were giving Bob the right of first refusal. The land would double Bob's acreage and more than double its profit potential. Bob brought the opportunity to the next ministry board meeting and asked for advice. The board members reminded Bob of his consistent statements that God had clearly spoken to him about getting and staying out of debt. When asked if he would have to borrow to do the deal, he replied, of course. To do the deal and develop the land, he'd need $1 million. To a man, the board advised Bob not to go against his own testimony, but to wait on the Lord to build his business in another way. Bob had no peace in his heart. One of the board members felt so strongly that Bob shouldn't do the deal that he drove 5 hours one way to walk the property with him and urge him not to do it. He shared from Proverbs, "Do not wear yourself out to get rich. Have the wisdom to show restraint. Cast but a glance at riches, and they are gone, for they will surely sprout wings and fly off to the sky like an eagle." He reminded Bob of his frequent counsel to others and how they were watching him. He closed with, "The rich rule over the poor, and the borrower is a servant to the lender." Bob thanked him profusely. When Bob later asked his wife, she said, "Honey, whatever you think is best." Bob borrowed the money. In fact, he hasn't stopped borrowing money. He also testified that God had told him to give up drinking. He had stopped, but has now started again. There's virtually no ministry going on in or through his company. His sons have left the business. Referring to the man who had driven 5 hours, Bob was recently heard to say, "Where's my friend?" Bob still doesn't seem to have enough land, even though his farm is 20 to 30 times larger than before, and he's made millions. He's now estranged from all the ministry board members, and he's also in conflict with his competitors.